Welcome to the Heat of Command podcast, mastering the art of fire service leadership,
where we, your hosts, aim to teach you how to use introspection and self-reflection to be your most authentic, genuine self, leader, and human being.
And now here are your hosts. This is Kyle Matusik.
And Carrie Henderson. Thanks for joining.
Here we are wrapping up 2024 with our final podcast of the year. Kind of crazy that another year has gone by. And as we look forward to 2025, here we are with our final episode. And Carrie brought up a great idea to kind of talk about gratefulness and being grateful and all those things in terms of, you know, looking at it from a vantage point as a leader on how we're grateful as leaders. And then, you know, I think one of the big things we could get into too, Carrie, is, you know, how do we show that? You know, a lot of times we can say a lot of things, but how do our actions show how grateful we are with so much that goes on in our lives personally and then on the professional front as well. So, you know, it's kind of a cool way to wrap this our first full calendar year up and talking about this. And then, you know, we're absolutely grateful for our listeners and the opportunities that we've been afforded throughout this journey. And we have a lot absolutely to be grateful for. So it's just kind of an exciting time to be here and looking forward to 2025 and what else is going to come.
Yeah, it's interesting because whenever I am like looking for something out there for like self-improvement or personal development, I almost always come across something that talks about gratitude and how important gratitude is in stress relief and joy and just mindset shifts. And that when you're kind of stuck in this mindset, the first thing you should always do is look for what you're grateful for. And I am terrible about this. And I know I should be doing it. And it still takes me forever to wrap my brain around that it will actually work. Because to me, it's too simple. Like I'm a firm believer in everything has to be difficult to be effective, which is dumb. So it's to me, I'm always like, that's too simple. Like I being thankful is too simple, but it's really not. And anytime I slow down enough to think of all the things that I'm grateful for and to express gratitude just in my head, just quietly, I feel so much better. And what more perfect time than right now at the end of 2024 than just for us to talk about the importance of gratitude and what we're grateful for. And maybe we can inspire some folks to do the same and they can finish their year off, even if it was 2024 was a dumpster fire for you. There's something you can be grateful for. And maybe it's simply that it's over. Maybe you're just simply grateful that you survived it and you got through it, and 2025 is about to begin, and we'll see what happens then. But I always love, and you guys bear with me, but you have heard Kyle and I talk about, you know, our Christian beliefs. And for me on Sunday mornings when we take communion, and the quiet time after communion is when I always have a minute to think of all the things I'm grateful for. And it's a great way for me to start my week because it puts me in a better mindset that I can have 1,000 crappy things going on and be stressed. And the holidays for me, and I'll be very vulnerable and honest. The holidays for me are very tough because I share custody of my son. And I love the holidays and all things holidays. And for me to have to split that time. So I get really super anxious and all out of sorts and super cranky. and now that I know why, but it's easy for me to get in a down mindset, but I'm super grateful on Sunday mornings, and it helps me kind of reframe and refocus and put me in a better place. So I'm glad we're doing an episode about this.
Yeah, you know, I think there's kind of two ways to look at this too. One, you know, because especially we talk a lot about leadership in our industry, and it's like that personal gratitude, like, and what are you grateful for, and then it's how are you effective in being grateful for those in which you lead. And I think those are kind of two different things. And I think it's hard to be grateful for your team if you can't have that for yourself, because you got to know what that's like. And, sometimes that could be challenging because you might think it's, bloating your ego, and you're not being humble. But I would argue that fact. And I think it's okay to look back on a year, let's just say, because we're winding up 2024, and look back on your year, and just a lot of times we just don't reflect. We talk a lot about introspection and looking at ourselves, how we can constantly improve. But sometimes it's okay to look back at yourself and be like, man, I kicked butt there. Or, I'm so grateful that this happened, or I met so-and-so, or whatever the case may be. I'm grateful for whatever, and years can be tough. And so in the same breath, it's almost also looking back and giving yourself grace. Maybe you didn't accomplish a lot through 2024 and it was a rest year, for lack of better words, or you were struggling, or you were trying to figure things out, and in that same breath, it's just giving yourself grace for those opportunities, and it's just realizing why we are where we're at and how we got to the point where we're at today, and looking back and seeing the stories that came together and how the dots connected to get you to where you're at, and a lot of times we just kind of grind, right? We grind at our jobs, we finish a task, we move on to the next. We have to have constant improvement of, the processes that we talked about last episode, and we're always looking to improve and improve and improve. And sometimes it's okay to just sit, reflect, and be grateful for everything that has happened, and the foundation you built for what is yet to happen. And I think it's a very important part for one's own mental health, right? Because life's a grind sometimes. And if we're not grateful for the things that we have and have accomplished, then it just constantly gets to that burnout stage and you're just exhausted constantly. So take that breath here before we end to 2024. Look back on your year, and I ask you and challenge you to find those things that you're extremely grateful for.
Yeah, and it's interesting when I think about ways that you can express gratitude to your subordinates, but also the importance of expressing gratitude to the people above you.
Yeah.
And how refreshing that would be to someone, that is struggling in leadership just like we all are, and to have a subordinate, a follower, come and say, I'm grateful for these things that you provided for me this year, or I'm thankful that you helped me get to this point, or I'm, super grateful that you supported me when I was having a tough time, or whatever it is. And to reflect that way, man, that would mean a huge deal to some people, to anybody really. And then how do we express it to those that we supervise without being cheesy?
Yeah.
Because that's tough. Like, hey guys, let's all sit around the table and say what we're grateful for. Now, I would love that kind of exercise because that's the person that I am. But not everyone feels the same way as Carrie does. So how do you do that? And sometimes you just have to do it, and however it lands, it lands. But it's important for those you supervise to hear you say not just what you're grateful for, in your personal life, because I think that is important too, for them to see you work through that. But it's also important, what you're grateful for in your workplace, because we get so caught up in the weeds of the crap, like what's bad in our organizations. Like, I wish I didn't have to be on call every 6 weeks. I hate it. But you know what? In the grand scheme of things, I'm compensated very well. I have a great work environment. The other stuff makes up for that. But, if I forget to say that I'm grateful in front of other people, do they think I'm not grateful for all the other things that I have that are good? And with your subordinates, what you're grateful for them and what they bring to the table. So Kyle, how do you do that without being cheesy?
Yeah, I think, it goes back to just actions. Like, what are you doing? A lot of times, especially men, I would say, have a hard time with talking about emotions and how they feel, and especially around a firehouse table. That could be a tough thing to say, like, hey, I'm grateful for all you guys. Most of the table would laugh and be like, who is this? And I think we back it up with actions. And I think that's very important. And I think there's some real simple things that we can do as leaders of companies and shifts or whatever. I think, for me, one of the easiest ones, I think breaking bread is huge in every aspect of life, not just in the firehouse. As a family, it's very important to us that we sit and eat dinner, that we cook. Sometimes we cook together. But as a boss, if you go in and bring in food and you cook for your crew, I think that says a lot. And I don't think you need to go in and say, I'm grateful, for everybody here, but and it's got to be a good meal, like not, not a $10, pop some chicken tenders in the oven. No, you're bringing in, some good steaks or short ribs or pasta. I usually cook pasta, but you're just taking that extra effort. You're showing them, you're showing people that you're grateful for them. Other, I think, little things here and there. And again, there are so many ideas out there, and these are just some of the ones that, off the top of my head. I think going in on a day during the week, and this doesn't happen, just need to happen around the holidays. If they had a busy week before or whatever, and you go in on a Tuesday or Wednesday, hey, get your checks done, and then we're on a holiday routine. Just out of nowhere, and it's those like little surprises that are like, hey, they care. Or I think one of the big ones, and we talk all the time about human connection and about bringing the human aspect back into the job, because everything like we talk about is just a process and it's on to the next thing and so forth and so forth. As a boss, go back through the year and, just look through some of the calls you were on and pinpoint what people did on those calls, what was memorable. And when you're sitting around having the meal, bring those up. Hey, on that call, you really kicked butt on as an engineer. I know you had some tough challenges and you overcame those all on your own. You worked well independently, and that's just a strength to our shift and on EMS runs, whatever the case may be. Like, pull things that people are going to be like, wow, they remembered that. And even if you didn't remember it and looked it up, you took the time, right? So you're taking this investment into people. A lot of times, with my experience, it comes off as just something that bosses are supposed to do. And when it comes off, like we've had chiefs give a $50 gift card for pizza, and you're like, okay, that's not even going to feed the crew for the day. So cool. But like, really? That's it? And it's not like we want things, but I rather not have anything than something that is just you're doing because you're supposed to, instead of doing because you want to. And trust me, your crews can see right through that. If you're just doing something because you're supposed to, because you're the boss or this or that, versus you really want to, and you're invested in your companies and you're invested in your people. There's a big difference in that. So just don't do it because, we're saying to, or because you're supposed to. Do it because you want to, and really figure out a very personal way to show people how grateful you are for them.
Yeah. And I love the breaking bread thing. That's a big thing in our house, but also when I was on shift as a company officer, like I don't care if you don't eat what we're eating, but we're all going to eat together. So that's when we hash it all out, that's when we get comfortable making fun of each other.
Yeah.
And I think that's super important. And I think it's super important for the senior leadership to pop in and eat. Like as a battalion, a lot of our ops battalions will rotate what stations they're eating with. So like, hey, invite me and I'll come eat with you. And they rotate what stations they're eating with. So they're not always just eating at the station that their truck lives in.
Yeah. Yeah. It takes a concerted effort. I think when you're a boss or a leader of people, it takes a concerted effort to really show your gratefulness for them. And it's outside the box. You do something that, we don't talk about, or an idea we haven't given you or you read about, and it just comes from the heart. People will notice, and it goes a long, long way, and not having that also goes a long way, just in the wrong direction, so it's just be cautious there. People want it, they want to know that they're doing good and they're appreciated for the efforts of what they do. And, The last, it's just funny as we sit here and talk about it. Last episode, we talked about a lot of policies, procedures, and how we took the human aspect out of it. And it's like, as we talk about gratefulness and, the nice things bosses should be doing and stuff, it's like they almost do the same thing. All right, did I do this on the holidays? Did I say Merry Christmas to people? Check, check, check. And it's like, it's so far beyond that. And you have to, especially in our profession, you have to just have that. But that desire to want to build that relationship. And it's just such a great opportunity. And it could open up a whole world of conversation just in terms of gratefulness, and you sit and talk around and you just get everybody to start talking about and maybe reevaluating themselves personally. Like you have no idea the extent that having these types of conversations or just showing a little gratefulness could have on other people. To where maybe they're close to burning out or they're doing too much or they're struggling through some things. But then you have these conversations and show these things. And it's like, hey, we all have a lot to be grateful for, at the end of the day, we all do. So it's just sometimes that redirection that we need to look at the things that are most important and the areas in which we should be extremely grateful for.
Yeah, I've seen lately a lot of our crews and stuff have been doing like a Christmas dinner off duty. They're going out with their spouses and meeting for dinner. And we did that with my husband's crew a couple weeks ago. It was so much fun. And it's just nice because get to know, significant others more so than when they're just popping by the station or if you don't know them at all. And then everything's more relatable. But I love to see the posts from our crews out. Some of our crews get dressed up and go out, and that's the brotherhood of the fire service. That's the brotherhood of the fire service.
And we also understand that that's not everywhere, and that could be frustrating, and I totally understand that and can relate with a lot of people who share in that very closely. And it's something that's needed and understand that it's not everywhere. And then it's like, having that personal gratitude and understanding what you are grateful for on an individual level, and it's being able to do that. And then hopefully through how you're doing that, people will see. And then maybe you can share some of those strategies and, turn people around and re-guide them to the things that are most important, and the accomplishments that we have had over the course of the year, because they're big deals.
Yeah. So Kyle, what are you thankful for this year? What are you grateful for?
It's my family. As simple, it's not just that simple, right? My wife and I have overcome a lot of, this has been a challenging year for us, both as husband and wife. We had a lot of challenges. And one thing I've learned to say is I'll never say we turned a corner because God's like, I got other plans. Last time we said that, it was like, nope. So yeah, we've overcome a lot, and just the growth we've done as a couple and as individuals there's still a lot of work left to be done, but just the priorities in our life are well aligned. It's our two girls, and they're striving and they're getting opportunities. They just were asked to sing at the Christmas services at church, and it's just the two of them on stage.
Aww.
Like, this is going to be epic, and it's just unbelievable for my wife and I, where we came from, our upbringing, just coming to faith a few years ago. It is like the culmination of so much. And you just look back at all the struggles, and there's a lot to be thankful for through all those struggles. So yeah, that's really where it's at for me, and it's probably going to be there, and I'm grateful for my job, and it affords us some opportunities and some things. Obviously, I have shared a lot of frustrations with my organization, and it's unfortunate a lot of people don't understand. A lot more about my wife's story in the last year than most people I work with. Because as you go through, the growth and stuff, and, for anybody out there coming to faith, like, it's the hardest thing we've ever done, and a lot of relationships have changed over time, recent times, but, we wouldn't change it for sure. And it has brought us to a much better place. And we tend to be a lot more grateful and, have joy in the mundane and not trying too hard at anything. So it's been It's been a year, that's for sure. We're looking forward and we're looking ahead and we're just excited. And there's always going to be ups and downs, but it's that, like I said, one of the key words for me is always grace. Giving yourself grace, and then with that, what are you grateful for? Because even through a lot of the hardships that we have, living especially in this country and having the professions that we do, we have a tremendous amount of things to be thankful for and grateful for every single day, no matter how bad an organization can be or where you're struggling professionally or personally. We just have a lot to be thankful for every single day.
Yeah, very well said.
I had it all written down. No, I'm totally kidding. Did you answer that question yet?
No.
All right, now it's your turn. Well, you kind of started going towards it, and then we kind of loop back. But so, what about you?
I am thankful for first my husband, because this was the year of cranky Carrie. I don't know.
Oh, yeah?
Super cranky this
I
year.
never got cranky Carrie over the webcam, huh?
No. Yeah. And he loved me through it and laughed through it most of the time. But yeah. But I'm also very thankful for Tailwinds Ranch. And you guys have heard me talk about my EMDR journey. And I think I graduated from therapy last week. That's a big deal.
It is. Yeah.
So, but yeah,
it
so
really
Michelle at Tailwinds Ranch and everybody out there that supports Tailwinds, because it's a nonprofit place that you can get therapy for free, which is very, very hard to find. And so anybody that's making that happen on the back end, thank you. So I'm grateful for them. And it's always one of those things that, it's meant to be, because they're not from here and they basically picked a place on the map to open a ranch and provide mental health services for military and first responders. And they end up here, and then they end up going to a Ducks Unlimited banquet with a firefighter that we work with who knew I was starting the peer team. And so, just long story short, but it's one of those things. I'm just grateful for the connection.
Yeah, that's an awesome story. It's just crazy how things come into place sometimes,
Yeah.
You do need to tell AJ that I am thankful for his mustache, and I hope to see it in February.
He has no mustache.
I know, he's got to get it back.
No, he does not.
Yes.
Absolutely not.
Make sure he listens to this, because I got to see it in February.
Oh, no, he has no mustache. Although, all mustaches are coming back. All my favorite country singers now have cheesy mustaches. Yeah. And I don't hate it on them.
I'm just never a fan. A lot of our young guys do, and cool.
Yes, it's coming back. Definitely coming back.
Never. Never.
You would look funny with a mustache.
Yeah, I didn't know.
Oh, well, this was refreshing and light and a great way to end 2024. And then we're going to take a few weeks off, enjoy the holidays, and kick it back off rolling in 2025.
Yeah, we got a hot start like every year. Texas again, mid-January, back to Virginia in February. So we got to gear up for that, and hopefully we see a lot of people there.
Yes. If you listen and we don't know you or haven't met you, please come and find us at either of those places and introduce yourself. I'd love to meet you.
Yeah, both conferences are great. Not that just because we speak there, but they're just great to go to. And I think one of the big things in our industry is getting out of what is normal in the fire service. Because when you pull yourself out of the way your state does it, your organization does it, and you go to other states and see what they're doing, networking with people is where the ideas start flowing, and seeing what other people are doing and how they're advancing and how they're progressing their organizations. I'm not saying that you're going to be able to implement those in your organizations, but it starts building your, the knowledge you have and what you can do when you get into a position of being able to control some of those things. So it just get out of that comfort zone a little bit and go shake some hands at places that you've never been to before, because you will learn a lot. I can guarantee that.
Yeah. And the networking, and we were just talking about this today, my fire chief and I needed to reach out to someone in Hanover Fire, which is about 45 minutes from us, and to ask a question about a recruit that they had and about their training academy. And I was like, man, who is in Hanover now that I know that I could call? And I was given actually this letter that this applicant had provided, and it had a name on it. And I was like, oh, I know Bobby Drake. He's a battalion chief in Hanover. I'll just call him. And it's just those connections that you make through these conferences and in committees that you sit on. I'm grateful for that.
Yeah.
That's the thing I'm grateful for. It made it so easy. I could just pick the phone up and say, hey, I need to ask some questions about your academy to see if it compares to ours. And yeah, someone I've known through committees, but have gotten to hang out with at Virginia Chiefs Conference. So
yeah. Just absolute great opportunities. Even if you don't go to those two, go to other ones, right?
Yes,
get out and, well, I won't say that, but as some of maybe the more local ones, not a big national one, but the regional ones are really good. And yeah, you just get a lot of great insight. So
yeah, absolutely. Well, we will see you all in 2025, and we are most grateful for you guys, our listeners. So thank you.
Absolutely. It's been a great year, and keep on growing and keep helping us grow. So hope everybody has a Merry Christmas and great holiday season, and we'll see you in Texas and Virginia. As we wrap up another episode, this has been Kyle
and Carrie
from the Heat of Command podcast.
Thank you, as always, for listening. Please make sure to follow and subscribe on Apple, Spotify, and YouTube. And as always, we love the feedback. Keep it coming.
See you next time.